cutting ties with a racist past.
It now certainly feels like it's the right time to be doing this.
One of Denver's neighborhoods is shedding its name.
It's a completely symbolic change.
And replacing it with a name decided by the community.
It's just important that the community weigh in and that what comes out of this is something that everyone feels like they can get behind.
And thank you for joining us for Denver7 News at 5. I'm Ann Trujillo.
And I'm Shannon Ogden. We'll get to the details of the neighborhood change names finalists in just a moment. First, though, there are evacuation orders in place in Evergreen. Fire crews are trying to get this wildfire under control. Air Tracker 7 is over it right now. It is called the Elephant Butte Fire. All homes within the 5-mile radius are under these evacuation orders. That's about 700 homes in the upper Bear Creek Road, Elephant Butte area. Evacuation centers set up at King Murphy Elementary School, also Evergreen Elementary. On the phone right now, live, Jenny Fulton with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. Thanks for joining us. So give us the size and how close to the homes are we talking about here, Jenny? Jenny Fulton, are you there from Jefferson County Sheriff's Office? All right, we'll keep tabs on this fire right now. As I said, about 700 homes under evacuation orders. It's dry, as you know, and some wind out there along. So stay with us. We'll have the latest on that.
All right, along with the fire danger, we're also tracking some potentially severe weather moving east this evening. Chief Meteorologist Mike Nelson is in our remote weather center right now. Mike.
Well, Ann, we could use some rain, certainly in the Evergreen area, but we don't need the strong winds and the lightning, and that's what's coming to many areas of northern Colorado. In Denver right now, hazy skies looking off to the west, but nothing that's terribly stormy for us. We'd like to get that rain. It is falling farther to the north. This is our camera up in Alt along Highway 85 north of Greeley, and that's where we've had some severe thunderstorms move through. There is a severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 5:30 for northwestern and northeastern sections of Weld County and northwestern Logan County. That line of storms, when it moved through earlier across Larimer County, produced some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So Grover and down toward Purcell, over toward the New Raymer area. Also another warning that's out in Logan County, northern Washington County. Strong winds possible with those cells out over fairly lightly populated areas. We do have a small band of storms now pushing back all the way toward Broomfield, non-severe, but they are developing. Hopefully we'll get a little moisture out of them. And out on the eastern plains from just to the west of Ray down toward Lyman. There's a severe thunderstorm watch in effect until 11 o'clock tonight across the eastern quarter of the state of Colorado. So some strong storms this evening. Cold front is coming in tonight, and that's going to bring us some relief from the heat and a better chance of getting some rain for tomorrow. I'll highlight those details coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Mike, thank you for that. We have Jenny Fulton with us on the phone now to talk more about this Elephant Butte fire. So, Jenny, what can you tell us?
I can tell you that as of about 15 minutes ago, the fire is approximately 5 acres. It is up in the trees, so with the wind that they have here, it's spreading relatively quickly. We did tweet out a map of the evacuation center, and people who are being evacuated should have or will soon be receiving a code red notification letting them know that they need to evacuate. Animal control is on scene to help with large animals, and then people who have smaller pets, they can take them with them to the evac centers. There are 2 evacuation centers right now. One is King Murphy Elementary School, and the other is Evergreen Middle School. And that code red notification for evacs went to approximately 700 households.
And how close is this to any buildings, any structures?
I don't know the answer to that. I have not heard that any structures are currently threatened, but if the fire crests over the ridge and it starts going south down the south side of the mountain, then we might be infringing on some structures on that side.
And when you say the south side of the mountain, what specific area are you talking about for people who are maybe only slightly familiar with this?
So between the ridge of Elephant Butte Mountain and then Buffalo Park Road is probably the most exposed area, as well as Masters Road area.
Okay. Jenny Fulton with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. We thank you so much for the update and for your time. Thanks, Jenny. Now, today we are getting a closer look at the list of possible names for Denver's Stapleton neighborhood. The Master Community Association released 9 possibilities for residents to vote on.
Denver7's Macon Lopez shows us what the names are and why some say they don't want this area named after a person.
We've only done a little bit.
What's in a name?
Romeo and Juliet might not have had the answer to that question, but in Stapleton,
We have 9 names that are out this week.
the name is just about all anyone is talking about, or rather, the name change. The area was named after the airport, which was named after someone with ties to the KKK, and people here want to put that in the past.
What's behind all of this is just an effort to make the community a place where everyone feels welcome and included.
So after removing the old name, a list of 331 possibilities was whittled down to 151 and now 9 finalists. Those finalists are Mosley, Peterson, and Randolph, 3 people, Meadowlark, a bird, Concourse, Skyview, and Tailwinds, a nod to the old airport, Central Park, and Park Central. Already there's opinions.
I personally like Tailwinds. I mean, this was an airport.
Some, like Chris Nelson, would rather stay away from naming the area after another person.
We're imperfect people, and then when you start naming things after people who are imperfect, a lot can go wrong, especially in this sort of mood this country's in now of canceling people.
He'd like to name it something more neutral, like Central Park. But Chris says this is mostly a symbolic switch, and the area will still be known as Stapleton for a while, like the Broncos Stadium.
We also call it Mile High. What's an empowered field or something? It's still Mile High. It is what it is. It takes a generation, the next generation of kids, to come along are probably going to call it something different.
Real change isn't changing a name, but it is a start.
But now certainly feels like it's the right time to be doing this. And this is just part of something that's happening at the national level.
So what's in a name? Well, soon the residents of Stapleton will be able to tell you. Megan Lopez, Denver 7.
In the NFL, after decades of advocates trying to get the Washington team to change its name, the franchise is finally preparing to drop the Redskins name and logo. Now, the team has not yet announced a new name, but the head coach and owner say they wanted to honor Native Americans and the military. Though the push to rename the team has really been out there for years now, this new move comes after several corporate sponsors put pressure on the franchise.
The city of Westminster is promising to defend most officers from use of force lawsuits. Now, Colorado's new police reform law removed qualified immunity, making it easier for members of the public to sue individual officers for their actions. Westminster City Council issued a letter to its officers saying it would defend officers except in situations in which officers were convicted of criminal violations. Greenwood Village took this step farther last week, saying it would never find an officer acted in bad faith, therefore accepting all financial liability officers may face. Governor Polis says he expects lawmakers to close this loophole in the next session.
Aurora police are releasing new suspect information connected to the attacks on women who were out using the Highline Canal Trail. Investigators believe Julio Gonzalez is responsible for at least one of 2 attacks on women using the trail last week. Police say he seriously hurt one woman, this was near First and Moline, hitting her with a board and sending her to the hospital. Now, Gonzalez is already in police custody for unrelated charges and now faces assault charges connected to this attack. And police, meanwhile, are working to determine if the same suspect is responsible for another attack on the canal a few days earlier. That woman was able to get away with minor injuries.
The rise in new cases of coronavirus in Colorado seemed to be slowing a little bit. In the last 24 hours, the state reported 329 new cases. That's down from 612 new cases Thursday. And we're not seeing a big rise in new deaths. The state reported 2 new deaths today. And with cases on the rise, we are keeping close tabs on our hospital system. This is the graph that shows the number of beds in use by COVID patients. And right now, at least 333 beds are in use. And at least one facility is expecting a shortage of intensive care beds, staff, and protective equipment in the next week. Well, Denver City Council is working to make sure the state's largest coronavirus testing center can keep operating. A nationwide surge in testing demand has limited supplies at the Pepsi Center site to just 2,000 per day. So tonight, City Council will discuss a new contract with LabCorp to provide testing kits and analysis for the Pepsi Center and the mobile testing sites here. That contract's worth $3 million per year.
Parker's Town Council will discuss the process of opting out of the Tri-County Health mask mandate. The issue is on the agenda for tonight's study session. Tri-County Health created the mask rule for Adams, Arapahoe, and Douglas counties, leaving an option for cities and counties to opt out if they so choose. Douglas County, which encompasses Parker, has already announced its intent to opt out and to leave Tri-County Health and form its own health department. The Town Council in Castle Rock, also in Douglas County, will take up the issue tomorrow in a special session.
Well, tonight, the Douglas County School Board will discuss its plan for the return of school in the fall. Last week, the district finalized plans to allow families an option of 100% in-person learning or a continuation of the remote learning. Now, in-person learning will come with a long list of precautions schools will take, including social distancing, temperature checks, and face coverings. This week, we expect Denver Public Schools to release findings from a parent survey on whether their students will go back to school or continue the online learning. The survey will then help the district get a head count and create plans for each style of learning.
Hamilton is back on the books at the Denver Center for Performing Arts. This year's tour, as you know, was canceled due to COVID, but the smash Broadway hit is bound for the Buell Theater in February of 2022. Yeah, so you have to wait a bit. If you already have tickets to the 2020 run, the DCPA will email you with your new dates, and single tickets will go on sale at a later date.